The next paper of this session will be presented by Ms. Ayra Indrias. Ms. Ayra Indrias is a visiting faculty at Kinnaird College for Women University, and she's doing a PhD in Gender Studies at Punjab University. So please.
Many thanks to the organizer, and please accept my heartfelt appreciation for giving space to this topic. And I hope my slide will be followed by this. Okay. And as it is titled, The Adultery, the Ground for Dissolution of Christian Marriage in Pakistan, and I have dwelt upon the intersectional constraint confronted by Christian women in Pakistan. Before I initiate my study, I would like to give you a little background. Like Christian Divorce Act 1869, it says section 10 के मुताबिक अगर Christians who want to end their unhappy marriage, they need to substantiate the charges of adultery against their spouse. लेकिन ये before 1981 ये सूरत हाल नहीं थी. We did have a provision by section 7 of matrimonial clause 1973 that provided a ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage. कि ये वाली ग्राउंड मौजूद थी 1981 से पहले, जिसमें हम अडल्ट्री लगाने के चार्जेस की जगह अगर ग्राउंड irretrievable breakdown of marriage हो गई है, like it is equal to no fault divorce के उस एम्बीट में, तो डिवोर्स हो सकती थी. But General Ziaul Haq in 1981 he repealed that section, and that left Christian couples with no other option except to accuse their spouse of adultery in order to seek divorce. Or for more than 2 decades, Christian women, along with civil society organization in Pakistan, have been spearheading a campaign, or we have been engaged in lobbying, advocacy work, and we have been addressing our government to please introduce amendment in this Christian Divorce Act 1869. And there's a famous petition was filed by a Christian man in 2016. It was not in 15, it was in 2016. And he prayed to the Lahore High Court that he wanted to divorce his wife, but not on the ground of adultery, because it did not take place. He prayed to the High Court that please restore section 7 so that could provide a ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage, जिसमें उसको कोई बच्चनी का इल्जाम ना लगाना पड़े, और वो he could make use of this ground and then part their ways in a respectable manner. But then there was a strong resistance from the clergy, Christian clergy, which is very much traditionally has been and is still dominated by male, and they said that they will not allow any amendment to this law. And but with the passage of time, it went up, forward and backward. And in 2017, Lahore High Court restored section 7 of Christian Divorce Act. But within a week, it got challenged, and the intra-court appeal is in the process. So that is a little background to my study. Amid this, I tried to develop this research question in order to assess that whether Christian divorce laws in Pakistan violate fundamental rights of Christian women, especially the right to dignity as enshrined by Article 14 and equality before the law. And these were the subjective study objectives. I tried to explore the challenges Christian women face while seeking judicial redress for divorce. I tried to analyze the perspective of Christian clergy on Christian Divorce Act and identify the socio-cultural religious constraint that obstruct the passage of amendment. क्या ऐसे किधर झमेले हैं जो ये divorce law को change नहीं होने दे रहे इतने पुराने. Or my methodology is based on the responses drawn from the in-depth interviews with 14 participants, और जो मेरी 9 औरतें थी, Christian women who were in the age bracket 34 say 48 years, and some of them were facing, some of them have experienced divorce litigations, and then 3 lawyers, and those lawyers were included who provided legal aid to Christian women litigants, and then 2 Christian senior priests as well in order to know their position. And obviously it entails a lot of legal implications, and I have analyzed that it conflicted with the fundamental rights of Constitution of Pakistan. Like if you're using adultery is equivalent to assassinating human dignity. And famous इस केस की बार रेफर दिया जाता है शैला ज़िया केस वर्सेस वावडा 1994, जिसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बड़ी वजाहत की थी and expanded the definition of right to life, that life includes all such amenities, facility which a person is born free which person born in a free country is entitled to enjoy with dignity legally and constitutionally. फिर हम अगर अपने discriminatory provisions of Christian Divorce Act, it also contradict the Article 35 of the Constitution of Pakistan that calls the state to protect the marriage, family, mother and the child. And Article 36 is also contradicts, that says that state shall safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of minority, including their representations. And then within this law, there are different grounds of divorce for men as well as for women. Like for men, they can only divorce on the basis of adultery, whereas for women, in cases where adultery is not occurred, men have to falsely accuse women of adultery, whereas unlike men, women have to add adultery coupled with cruelty, adultery coupled with bestiality and other grounds to seek divorce. So my position is like entailing differences in the treatment of law for men and women is tantamount to contradicting the Article 25 of the Constitution of Pakistan that guarantees equality of treatment irrespective of differences based on the basis of sex. And then I also try to use this unreasonableness and irrationality in the whole argument. The presence of highly unreasonable ground for divorce is devoid of any plausible justification. बहुत मुश्किल होता है for couples to free themselves from the bond of unhappy marriage. Therefore, seeking judicial redress always stands more complicated and difficult. Or in the face of अगर adultery नहीं है तो there are so many other cases, wife battering है, domestic violence है, वो नशा करके छोड़ के चला गया for an indefinite period of time, isolation for financial resources, and Christian women are left with no respectable option to seek judicial redress. And then by the end of the day, while I was conducting their interviews, and I could easily make sense that they have internalized this phenomenon of exploitation as their destiny. कि अब तो कुछ हो नहीं सकता. And some women were left in extreme psychological shock and depression after learning that they were accused of adultery by their husbands, by their in-laws, and also feel reluctant to accuse their spouses of adultery if they want to seek divorce, as echoed in the words of a lawyer while I was taking this interview. On the other side, there were also cases where accusation of adultery was concocted. Some women reported that after reaching an understanding with their spouse, कि कोई बात नहीं, we falsely accuse each other of adultery in order to get rid of their marriages. So, a false accusation has its own implication. Character assassination, internalization of exploitation, implication on, because marriage ये बड़ी ideal condition है कि happily and ever after. It can be a fairy tale, but even in our lived realities, we cannot idealize and romanticize around this phenomena. So इस sense में it has implication on children, relative, and when it comes to women, they are facing intersectional challenges, because एक तो women, फिर belonging to a minority community, class, caste, religion, gender, how they are intersecting, or when it comes to seeking legal redress, women then they prefer to stay silent and subject themselves to violent conditions. And then there was also a finding that change of religion was also felt as a means to escape an abusive marriages. Many women of lower class prefer changing their religion in order to socially declare their previous marriage null and void. But in Pakistani context, one can imagine the change of religion has its own negative implication, like derogatory terms, use of chuda, chudi, these words, how these words are embedded in our psyche, and then there is a non-acceptance of Christian women in Muslim families. And because I'm sharing all these findings because I've conducted the interviews, the in-depth interviews, and these were the findings. My second question was to see what is the church position in Pakistan. Drawing the literalistic interpretation from the Bible, the clergy insists that adultery needs to be the only ground for dissolution of marriage. And they say that Christian marriage are sacrament, so they can never be broken. And in the words of clergy, he said that women in difficult marriage should pray instead of thinking about divorce. Marriage is once contracted, cannot be broken. And then biblical references from a very literalistic Christian theologians, they were quoted. But on the other side, whenever the government or the court wants to seek opinion, they seek opinion from the church, and which is again the leadership where women are virtually absent in the leadership domain. So their opinion, their voices cannot be heard, their perceptions cannot be brought on the table, and then this is again very problematic, but diametrically opposed to the opinion of the patriarchs of the church. Christian women organization critiqued the discriminatory nature of the law and favored the expansion on the grounds for divorce. और इंडिया में ये हुई और दूसरे मुल्कों में भी हुई. 2001 में इंडिया में इस कानून को उन्होंने एक्सपैंड किया, डिवोर्स के क्रूलिटी को भी एज अ ग्राउंड ऐड किया, बट डिडंट हैपन इन पाकिस्तानी कॉन्टेक्स्ट. So, adhering to the international commitment of upholding human rights and human dignity, as Pakistan has signed a number of international procedures, CEDAW है, ISSPR है, International Covenant of Civil Political Rights है, there are so many other जो हमारे पे binding है. और then constitutional protection of the rights of religious minority, it is highly recommended that Christian Divorce Act 1869 needs amendment to rectify this outdated discriminatory nature and of this legal provision.
Thank you, Ms. Ayra.